We're ready to go. I've got, the privilege of sitting here next to one of the all-time legends of the sport, Roy Emerson, 12 Grand Slam titles. How many Davis Cup titles did you win for Australia?
Well, from 1959 to 67, I think we won 8 out of 9.
It's not a bad record. In those days, there was the challenge rounds, wasn't it? Where you were, if you won, you sat there waiting in the final, while the others had to fight off around the world.
Exactly. Well, in 59, I think we won it back. We had to go actually in 64. Let me recollect now. Australia lost the Davis Cup to Trabert and Satius. So there was one year where we won it back. I think it was 59. We won it back in the States, and then we.
So when you had to go to do the challenge round, so who did you have to play along the way? It was the Americans were waiting there in the States for you. You had to fight off against the rest of the world. So that means you had to travel wherever you.
Well, after Wimbledon that particular year, we played. I think we played 5 Davis Cup matches in a row.
In a row. So
in a row.
Like
yes,
every
we played
week,
against. We played against Cuba. We played against Canada, and we played those in Canada, and we went to Mexico, and then we played. Then we played India in Boston.
Why would you play India in Boston?
Well,
not Australia or India.
No. Well, it was just decided. I think we had the choice of where we played it, and we played it. Decided to play it on grass in Boston. We also played Italy too, in Philadelphia. So there were 5 we played up leading to the challenge round, and so 5 in a row.
Well, that's a pretty heavy schedule.
Yeah.
How many tournaments? You remained amateur for a long time. One of the, I suppose, I'd say that it's fair to say one of the last guys to come across to be professional. How many tournaments did you play, and how did you make a living? There was a Tennis Australia, or the LTAA as it was called then. Did they fund you, or did you sort of get some money on the side for appearance money? I mean, how did you make a living when everything was amateur then?
Well, we got enough appearance money just to survive, and no, we went from one tournament to another. So we left Australia and we had to outlay, and we also stayed privately a lot in private homes. And then when we were in England, we'd try and find an apartment, and the players would all share the apartment. But all through America, we stayed in private homes, and that helped. So. No, we didn't make any money as amateurs, and so, as you said, I turned pro in '68. The reason why I kept playing amateur tennis for a longer period was I hoped to win a few majors and get a better pro contract. And I got a pretty decent pro contract, $75,000 for 3 years, I think it was. And that started in February of '68. Well, open tennis came in immediately after that, because Bournemouth was the first tournament, which was sometime in May, where open tennis was declared. So my pro contract was nullified then.
Oh no!
Because everybody
became
a pro.
But there was also different, say bodies of that were trying to put on a pro circuit, wasn't there? There was Lamar Hunt, who was
in '68, Lamar Hunt signed the Handsome Eight.
Handsome Eight, yeah. You weren't part of the Handsome Eight?
I wasn't handsome enough to make that group. And then in George McCall, who was living in California, that formed the National Tennis League, and he signed 10 players, 6 men and 4 women. And that was Gonzalez, Rosewall, Laver, Fred Stolle, Andres Hermino, and myself. And the girls were Billie Jean King, Francois Deux, Anne Hayden-Jones, and Rosie Casals.
Right.
So there are 8 men with Lamar Hunt and 6 men with National Tennis League, and 4 women. So out of that, quite a few top players, and that sort of started off the discussion for open tennis to come in, because the pros had played a match at Wimbledon, and Herman David, who was the president of the All England Club at that particular time, was for open tennis to come in.
So you were almost, the pros were almost the rebels, really, but they were invited to the All England Club to play exhibition
to play a
sort of
tournament. No, they played a tournament amongst themselves. Yeah, and that was very successful, and Herman David was very happy about that, and also Philippe Chatrier from Paris was also for open tennis. The 2 other majors weren't so keen on open tennis coming in, which was Australia and the US. But it was voted in, and then all of a sudden everyone's a pro.
Well, how did the amateurs go against the pros initially? Was it a bit of a? I mean, you were on the borderline, of course, you're becoming pro, but did you find that the guys who were pro, who played all over the place in all sorts of weird settings and indoor courts, did you think they had, because they played more, they had an advantage against the amateurs?
Well, when I turned pro, quite a few of the players were, past their best. They'd been on the pro tour for quite a while, and that was 1968. And the first pro tournament that I played in was in Hollywood, in Florida, which I won. I beat Rosewall and Sammy Gonzalez in the final. And but they were past their best at that stage, and they still played great tennis. Rod, when he first turned pro, had a tough time because the group of Gonzalez, Hode, Rosewall, and all of those top players, Trabert, they knew how to take advantage of someone's second serve. And Rod will also say the same thing if you spoke to him. He had a tough time because those pros knew how to handle second serves. And Rod had to improve his second serve a little bit more. And once he did, then he was fine. And he improved and tightened up his game and became a better player because of it. But no, the pros at that stage were great players, but they were sort of on. Hode was also in there and suffering from a bad back at that particular stage, and they were keen to knock off the new pro coming in all the time.
I bet. I bet.
And
because you are playing for a living. I mean, it's
no, exactly.
Playing for a living wasn't as if.
But when you played against them, you had to get your first serve in.
So when things did become professional, did you notice much difference at a tournament? Were the locker rooms better all of a sudden, or was it just almost the same thing, but except you had money now? You earn money as opposed to a trophy.
Well, it was nice that it was open, became open, and to have all the players.
Did they look after you better, or was it anything particularly different like that?
Well. Television got more interested, and the prize money started to get bigger. In the first place, the prize money was very small, but it was a little bit bigger than what the pros were playing for too, you know. So they were playing for peanuts, you know, nightstands all over the country.
Yeah.
But it was good for tennis. It was a new interest in the game, and not only in the men and the women. And once television got interested, then the sponsorships came in, and it's now $2.5 million to win a tournament and a Grand Slams.
Yeah.
You know, so big difference.
So what did you get for winning your first Wimbledon? Well, I tell people who are listening to this, but correct me if I'm wrong, but you're the only person to have held all four majors, to win all four majors in singles and doubles.
Mm-hmm. That's great.
That's not a bad effort.
No, well, every country was allocated a certain amount of money, and so it was evenly. If there were 20 Australians in Wimbledon, then they divide that money up for expenses, which didn't amount to very much. And usually we got a trophy that we had a money ordered. We had to go to Lily White's and buy
like a gift voucher.
A gift voucher, and we'd probably be flat out getting £250 for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So it was difficult living on that in London.
So when you retired, I'm jumping all over the place here, Roy, forgive me, but you retired, you decided, did you have enough money put aside to sit back for a while? I know you opened some tennis academies, and you wrote a book. The book is...
Well, I haven't written a book. No.
You didn't write the book?
No.
I thought you and Rocket wrote a book.
Oh, we did one. We did one together,
okay,
yes. Tennis for the bloody fun of it.
Tennis for the bloody fun of it. I did like that title.
Yeah. And, when I retired, Rod and I joined forces, and we did for 2 years all around America some tennis weeks called Rod Laver and Roy Emerson Tennis Weeks. And so that was pretty exhausting, because it was week after week after week in different cities. And I did most of them in the beginning because Rod was still playing a little bit.
Yeah.
He's a couple of years younger than I am. And then after a while, Rod said, after 2 years, he said, if I keep going at this pace, they'll be putting the lid on the coffin pretty soon.
Yeah.
So he said, he wasn't interested in continue that, and then I started doing my own tennis weeks in Switzerland, and I've been doing that for 43 years.
43. That's
and
you're heading. That's why you're here in Queen's Club now. Obviously, you're the champion here, but you're also heading off to Switzerland.
Switzerland,
again.
yes.
To do it again.
Yeah, that was the smartest move I ever did, doing that, because it's a beautiful place, and a place where our kids would want to spend a bit of time with us.
Yeah.
And my wife loves it, and so we've got a nice relationship, and it's good fun meeting people from all around the world, and it's a nice way to spend summer. And I'm not filthy rich, but I got enough money to not be sleeping on the streets in a rolled up newspaper. And tennis has been great, for me.
Well, I think myself, and I think most of the players who are walking through this tournament office here should be very grateful to you and the guys for creating professional tennis. I certainly am. Look, it would be wrong for me to go to stop this interview without asking you about some of the greatest players that you've played. And I got a feeling you're going to say there's a lot of them. But if there's a few guys you can highlight, say shots that you would avoid at all costs, for instance, or guys that really you couldn't stop if they were on their day. I'm sure you're one of them. You'd be one of them they would mention. But for you, who are some of the guys that you found? Wow, this is tough.
Well, I never played against Kramer and a lot of great players who I read about and
Pete Sampras avoided me during his career, and Roger Federer decided to come after me. So
Yeah.
I don't know what they like.
Yes,
They
I
managed
know.
to avoid me pretty well.
Well, I grew up in, when I was a junior, Frank Sedgman was our number one player, and I tried to emulate him. And matter of fact, and he was a great player, and never got the press that he should have, because he was a great ambassador for Australia, and Hode, probably the greatest player on his day, when he didn't like somebody.
Right.
Good luck to that person.
Was he powerful, aggressive, quick? I mean, what?
Yeah, well, he overpowered people.
Yeah.
Well, when he played Gonzalez always says that Lou was the toughest one for him to play, because his bread and butter serve was his short, wide serve to the forehand, and he couldn't serve that to Lou because Lou took it so early inside the court and thumped it down the line before he could finish his follow through on his serve, that he forgot about that one.
Yeah.
But Lou was, he lost to a lot of players that he shouldn't have, because he wouldn't concentrate sometimes. He wouldn't be in the game, but if he thought someone had tickets on themselves and thought they were great players, well, then he'd teach them a lesson. That's the only time he'd really concentrate, And Rosewall, you've got to admire Ken Rosewall.
I heard that he was just always tough, always on his game. You had to really help the bidding.
He didn't have the best service in the world, but he made up with it with his low volleys and his return of serve. And he was a difficult customer. He worked every point. And then you had Trabert from America, was a great player. Sasius. These are when I was playing in the tournaments, and even a lot of other good players, but to say who's the greatest,
No.
very difficult.
Yeah. No.
Because of the equipment.
Sure. That brings me to the next question, really. The equipment you had obviously wooden rackets, or stuff that I grew up with. Just started playing tennis as well. Gut strings. Did you had
we
gut
used
strings?
gut. Yeah.
And how did you string the strings? How did you get a supply of strings? Because we know we're sitting here at Queens and it's a rainy day. As soon as you go out there and hit a few balls on the gut strings, it's over.
Right. Well, we used to tie them together with tape, or those stringerlings we'd put in, and to make them last.
Yeah.
And it was not easy, because we had to either string them ourselves, or you didn't have a crew of stringers at the tournament. We had to go and do all of that, and we didn't have all the massages too that you could get. You'd have to organise that if you could. The only place that had built-in masseuses was Wimbledon.
Right.
And so everything else you had to organise by yourself, to practice and goodness knows what. But wooden rackets, it was very difficult to overpower somebody. And with the rackets today, in my opinion, the rackets have hurt the men's game, because it's made it a bit too fast. And it is all power and no finesse. It's improved the women's game a lot, and made that very attractive to watch. But the finesse has gone out of the game, because it was difficult with a wooden racket to put an overhead away. And nobody lobs today because no one comes to the net too much. But when most of the players were serving volleyers, except for some clay court players who were pretty good, and you could count on your left hand the number of two-handed backhands in the game, and the rest were serving volleyers. And so you learnt to hit the shoelaces on the returns and work the ball and lob a lot over 5 sets. That's the only way you could keep someone off the net and also tire them out. And so it's a different game. Now it's how hard you can hit from the baseline. You couldn't hit a winner from 15 feet behind the baseline and your opponent 15 feet behind the baseline on the other side with a wooden racket.
No.
Today you can. I mean, it's amazing how hard they're hitting the ball.
Do you think we've lost a bit of the skill of the game? Do you think? I mean, I've had this argument. People sort of throw out names of who the greatest players are, and I often say, well, why don't we give them a wooden racket and see if they can hit those shots?
Yeah, I like finesse. I like the finesse. I get a bit bored with the power.
Is it easy? Is it now the big head? You play golf? Is it like a big-headed golf club? It's like everybody can hit the ball.
It's made the game easier. Yeah. The face of, a bigger face racket, it's awful lot of pace there.
And you tried the new strings, the modern string? I mean, not that modern. They're 20 years old now.
No.
You should try them. You'd be surprised yet again at what sort of topspin you can get from it, because that's another jump again. It makes it impossible to stand near the net when the guys can lob you with so much topspin.
Well, I can't see how the game's ever going to change, because they start the kids so young, and the only way that they can, once they start competing, when they're that small, they can't come to the net too much, because they get past too quickly, and as a result, when they get 16, 17 or 18, they've wasted so much time. Giving you an example of Lou Hode, when he played, he mainly served and volleyed all the time, even when he wasn't strong enough to do it.
Yeah.
But if you don't do something early in your life, you'll never learn the anticipation of where to cover and whatever at the net if you don't ever come in. And you've got to take a lot of defeats before you can learn how to come to the net, pick the right place to go, and do the right volleys. And it's like when Tony Roach took over Lendl to try and win Wimbledon. It was not natural for Lendl to follow his second serve in, and probably Tony did his best with him and he did great, but when he was playing Wimbledon, I thought that he may have had to stay back on second serves a little bit, because when someone got balls at his feet, he wasn't used to it. And you've got to, you've got to practice that. Someone's got a big serve, they've got to practice serving second serves and get some balls at their feet for a change, so they know how to hit low volleys.
Well, Roy, I'd love to talk to you all day, but I think Eurosport are probably about to call me up there. I'm 5 minutes late, so look, have a great time here. In a 4-time champion here. There's so many titles that you've won, and I believe one of the ones I just read was you won 10 consecutive Grand Slam finals in a row. You can't even remember. Yeah, you won 10 out of 10. Didn't lose one. That's a pretty good record to finish on.
You should be playing your best tennis when you get to the final.
Thanks very much, Roy. I appreciate it.